I say Freudian, you say slips. Freudian.
Flips.
Freudian.
Flips.
Hey, Danny.
Hi, Ollie.
Welcome back, everyone. Freudian Slips, where we talk about the thinks, the shrinks, and the kinks in the mental health field. Did I get
You're
it?
getting it. Yeah, you're doing a good job. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. My memory is normally much more on top of it than this, but for some reason, that's almost too good. And I just mix it up every time. Okay. Danny, what are we talking about today?
Today, we're going to be hitting you with 5 of the worst, best relationship advice. And so I want today to kind of be a little bit lighthearted. We're going to kind of throw out some common sayings that we hear about relationships, about how you should handle relationships, and how, I'll speak for myself, Ollie, I don't know what you think, how I think that they're total crap. So, caveat, disclaimer, yeah, something to add to the beginning. Is there like a good way to take it? Is there like a silver lining? Is there some like good that can be taken from any of these pieces of advice? Of course, right? Cliches are cliches for a reason. There tends to be some grain of truth to it. And so if you have applied this to yourself, if this is your morning mantra and you have an amazing life, then odds are I'm not talking about you, right?
Danny, can I just throw out there? I think as we film more and more of these, you get sassier and sassier. And I really love it. And it just makes me so happy for the season we have upcoming because this was all Danny's idea. And he's fired up about it. So sorry, I just love the sassiness.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. If this is your life mantra and you're doing great, awesome. Please don't at me. Don't send me an email. I'm not talking about you. But what I am quite the person that is not very in line with tradition. And a lot of these things kind of stem from like tradition and stereotypes. And they do bug the hell out of me, especially as a couples therapist. And so I kind of wanted to throw them out, kind of riff a little bit about them, and then actually give you guys some insight or maybe give you guys some replacements that can actually be a little bit more helpful. Sound good?
This is fun.
Right.
I love this. What is the first one?
Starting with number 5, right? Number 5, worst, best relationship advice is take it one day at a time. Don't have any expectations. Go in with no expectations. No expectations is something that I hear from people all the freaking time. Do you? Has anybody ever told you, like, nah, no expectations. I'm just going to go into it, see what happens?
See, it's funny. I've heard the take it one day at a time, but not go in with no expectations.
Really?
Yeah.
People tell me that all the time. It's just like, yeah, just no expectations. Just gonna, whatever happens, happens. And like, I get it. What I think that people are trying to say is that they're trying to, like, the sentiment behind this is that people are trying to avoid disappointment. Right? If I go in with expectations, then it never goes the way that you planned. And so instead of setting yourself up for failure, just go in with no expectations. I get that. My problem with it is that when you go in with no expectations, you eliminate the ability to kind of have insight about the experience. And so when people go in with no expectations, if things go right, they tend to not know what went right and how to recreate that. Does that make sense? It's just kind of like, that was random. I hope that happens again. It doesn't give you a good platform to learn and to build off of going in with no expectations.
It's funny because I think of it from the opposite perspective, where it's like when you initially said it, my brain goes to like, oh geez, yeah, if you have no expectations, what if someone treats you like shit? Or what if just like things go horribly and you're like, well, I wasn't supposed to have expectations, or like, well, I just one day at a time. And it's like, to a certain extent, yeah, I think some people get ahead of themselves and think of things that are like, oh girl, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. But like it's funny how we went opposite directions with it. My initial thought was like, oh no expectations mean like, please have boundaries.
Yeah.
Please have some expectations
Yes.
of what you like will and will not stand for.
Yes, you and I believe that we're actually on the same exact page. So what I think people shouldn't be walking in with is false expectations or unrealistic expectations. And I think that's, unfortunately, people tend to fall on either end of that spectrum. It's either no expectations or these unrealistic expectations, right? And so, for example, someone who's dating, they're saying, well, what I want is I want to have sex on the first night, but I know that's not going to happen. So we're just going to have no expectations. It's like, but is having sex on the first date realistic? Is that a.
Wait a minute. Wait a
I'm
minute.
not saying it's bad. I'm not saying that.
Well, okay, first of all, I'd like to clarify. I don't know if I've ever had sex on a first date, so that's not why I said that comment. But I just think you can't have, no judgment.
No.
Some people, it's like, look at the stereotype of what Tinder is, or like, I knew tons of people
100%.
that use Tinder to be like, I am horny. Who else is
Yes.
horny? Are you in my area? Lovely.
Yes, 100%, right? I am with you 100%. No judgment. The thing I'm driving home is it a realistic expectation? If you're on Tinder and if that's what you're going for, then you having sex on the first date is a realistic expectation. What I'm talking about is people who have false expectations, who believe that they are owed or entitled to something, who believe that this is how how it should happen, who have seen, or heard from other stories that things are going to happen a certain type of way. And so they either think it should be that way or they have zero expectations. I'm talking about that. No judgment to anyone who just wants to, get a little frisky on the first date. Nothing like that. What I don't think people should be walking in with is false or unrealistic expectations. So what I think is that I'm with you, Ollie. I think people should have healthy expectations. And like, well, what is that? Like, who can really say what a healthy expectation is? I do think that we have a few things that we can be looking at, right? I think you should expect to be heard. I think you should expect to be respected. I think you should expect to have someone who is honest, right? If you walk in with healthy expectations, then you also have an idea of how things should go in a healthy relationship and how things shouldn't go in a healthy relationship, right? You can walk in and say, well, I don't know this person, and so I don't know what to expect from them, but I do know what to expect from a healthy interaction, right? And so when I see people walking in with no expectations, that's usually what I'm getting out is someone with very limited insight, with doesn't really know how things ended up good or bad, and then doesn't really know how to go, how to build from that point. And so please don't go into anything with no expectations. Go into something with healthy expectations. Realistic expectations.
It is funny, Danny, because even though I haven't heard the like no expectations part, reflecting on people, whether they were clients or just people in your day-to-day life that I've heard say the phrase like, just take it one day at a time, unless it's meant as like advice from what typically I've noticed is like an older generation or something. It's been people that are like, oh my God, but how many days are we cool with this? Or it's been people in situations that I'm like, yeah, I mean, if you keep telling yourself that, we'll be here for fucking ever. Like at some point, are we not, like, are we just going to be like, we're fucking out? Like, how about, sure, one day at a time, can we take after day 365, can we look at a percentage of how many of those were awful and how many were okay? Like, that seems wild. So it is funny, hearing the people that I've heard say it as a justification, or you can tell they're like really trying hard. And I would almost say too hard to stay in something. That's where I've heard this phrase more often.
Yeah, and those ones count. Those fall under the frustration of mine, is exactly to that point. Yeah. How many days? It does feel like by living by that advice, it does feel as if we have like this, well, eliminating what happened yesterday. Today's a new day. We're going to take it one day at a time. And it's like, at what point can you like take a step back and see the data points and look for the trend? And so, yeah, this one bugs me.
Well, what do you think would be a replacement then, instead of one day at a time, or take it one day at a time?
I think the replacement for me is still going to be have healthy expectations. And this, I think, requires like a deeper conversation. Obviously, like, I don't think this can be generic. I don't think this can be like a broad statement, because what is the situation for which you need to have healthy expectations, right? And so If we're talking about dating, how long should it take for you to figure out X, Y, and Z? How long should you give yourself before you want to revisit and have a conversation about where you guys are going? And so I think those are things that you should agree on, at least for yourself. Like, okay, I want to figure out if this person is good for a committed relationship by the end of like 2 months. Then it's on you that by the end of 2 months, you should be sitting down with that person or yourself to look at the days that you've spent together and see what you're learning from it, right? And so on one end, like, yes, be here in the present. Yeah, take it one day at a time, but also like, don't just look at one day as in a bubble. Like, you guys have been together for months now and you're ignoring so many data points. And so for me, taking it one day at a time, going up with no expectations, the piece of advice I want to correct, the piece of advice I want to offer is to go in with healthy expectations. And if you don't know what healthy expectations are, then reach out to someone and have a discussion about what we should be expecting from a healthy relationship or from a healthy situation. How should we expect things to go that respects both people?
Yeah. And I like the sentiment in it that like progress or marriage is not
Sure.
linear. And I think we've talked about this a lot, Danny. We're like, if you're going to be with someone for 30, 40, 50 years, like, I think we're going to change a little bit. I think like each of us and our sex drives and what we like to do and maybe career path and like all that stuff is going to shift over that amount of time. Imagine how different you were from, 10 years old to 30. Like it's a yeah, we're going to go through some stuff. Not every day is going to feel like progression or like it's getting better and better and better and better. Like, I get that. I just think along with having healthy expectations and like talking about what that looks like, I don't think there's I love a good metric. I don't see anything wrong with like find a way to like, yeah, if it's not linear, but like, all right, 70% of the time, I feel like, okay. Like, I would even do monthly audits and be like, all right, how do we do this month? How are we feeling? How was it? And then it's like, at least we're touching base and we're like, okay, if month after month it just kind of felt like a dud, or it just feels like, okay, we're in the red again. It's like, what are we going to do about it? Like, so what does that mean? And so I do like the idea of have healthy expectations, but maybe like throw in a fun metric or a fun way that you and your partner can connect and really see like how are each of us feeling, and for the lows balanced with the highs, like do we feel like we learned things from those moments? Like how do we feel with where we're at now compared to a month ago or a year ago or however you want to structure it? But I love a good check-in.
Yes, same thing. I love a good check-in. Please have healthy expectations and check in with them is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right. Number
This is fun. Number 4.
Ollie, what do you know about situationships? This isn't so much as an advice as it is just kind of like a thing in dating culture. What are your thoughts on situationships?
This is fun because I think for once you're more opinionated than me, and I like it. It's not that I don't like them. I think sometimes two people go into them and they agree that that's what they want.
Yes.
I just think when you exist in that kind of gray zone, we're bound for that to only last so long. You have two people that are saying, I just kind of want to hook up or whatever I guess the situation is, but you don't want to be in a committed relationship. Well, what if one person catches feelings for the other person, which I think is probably pretty likely to happen? Or what if they catch feelings for someone else? Or what about when one of them just decides, I don't want to do this anymore? I think it's fun when it can exist in this like little bubble, but I don't know if people think about how that could look like, okay, what if this continues for 1 month or 3 months or 5 months? Like, I don't see that deteriorating or ending well. I mean, I'm sure it can. I'm sure people have examples that are like, actually, me and my fuck buddy are homies. And I'll be like, all right, that's cool. Like, that's fantastic. But I think it's destined to get a little bit messy. And so as long as you are prepared for that and you know, like, this is so fun, and that, like, you might still have to deal with some of the stuff, or what I feel like people describe as like the bullshit of being in a relationship, or like someone getting kind of mad or frustrated about something, or, it's like, I just think it's inevitable that it can't exist in this perfect little fun situationship forever. So I think as long as people know that and they're willing to be communicative with each other about it and kind of realize that the positives, there are going to be some negatives that probably come with it, then I think power to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, you are the voice of reason, and there is a reality where this works. I agree with you 100%. Is do I think that people can come together and for a limited purpose? Yes, they can. What does that take? That takes honesty, it takes transparency, it takes communication. Is that what happens in most situationships? No.
But you want them. I tell people in my sessions, Danny, I tell them, I'm go, okay, you have every right to make what decisions you want. I go, but you're playing with fire. And they come back, whether it's a week later, whether it's a month later, whether I see them in 3 months, and they're like, hey, Ollie, remember that time you told me I was playing with fire?
Look at this. I got burned. Yeah.
Burn the green burns, bitch.
Yeah.
It's like they're just, I think as long as people know what they're getting into, we're consenting adults. You have the right to do whatever you want. I just think it's if you're going to come in and act like this is so fun, like nothing could go wrong, like why doesn't everyone do this? Like if you're going to live in la la land about it, I'm real quickly going to be like, all right, so how's this? Let's talk about what this logistically is actually going to look like.
Yeah, 100%. So situationships, as the majority of people actually, experience them, I think are just dumb.
Or messy.
Or stupid.
Did you say
I
dumb?
said dumb. It's a style of dating that really is more disingenuous, manipulative, and it prevents people from really figuring out what they want in a relationship because they're literally building it off of protecting pain. So why?
I don't even know if I'd consider it as a style of dating, though, because I think they know that. And they're like, I don't want to actively date, or I don't want to date this person, but I want something else with them. So I'm being very nitpicky, but I would argue, and to play devil's advocate, I think they're purposefully, if someone came in and thought that was a style of dating, I'd want to talk about that. Because I'd be like, what does dating mean to you? But I think they actively use it as a way to not really date or have to think about truly connecting with another person and like picturing a future with them.
No, I 100% agree with you. And so when I say disingenuous, manipulative, I don't just mean like you manipulating the partner. I mean you're being disingenuous and manipulative to yourself. Because, yeah, you're probably right. Like, I want to enter this relationship because I don't want to deal with the pressures or with the responsibilities of being in a committed relationship. But hear me freaking out. All right? Is that a relationship is a relationship. It doesn't mean it's a good or a healthy relationship, but when two people come together under a common purpose, whether it be healthy or unhealthy, that is still a relationship. And here's the framework of most situationships is they usually come together under the pretense that they are foregoing responsibility, that they are releasing their partners from the pressures of typical committed, contractual agreements in a relationship, right? But what you said is 100% true. Like, people still catch feelings, people still feel a certain type of way. And this is what really bothers me about situationships is that it seems more of a way to kind of excuse your poor behavior in a relationship. Because here's the thing. If a relationship is a relationship, but you're in a situationship, right? So you're saying it's not official, we're not actually dating. What you end up doing in situationships is you end up, I have this note, what is this? Is you can't really grieve or process the things that go wrong because it wasn't serious. So you can't really be hurt. You don't feel as if you have a platform to kind of speak what happened to you because it was a situation. We were nothing serious. And then at the same time, when you are the one kind of offending the other person, whether you don't communicate, you lie, you end up just walking out on them, you end up ghosting them when it no longer serves you, you also kind of excuse yourself from reflecting on that poor behavior because, again, it wasn't anything serious. And so this is really hurtful for when people actually do end up wanting to pursue real relationships in the future because this is their experience. Even if you say it wasn't serious, it was still a relationship that leaves an impact. It was still a relationship in which you practice behaviors, and it's that practice that you're taking with to the next relationship that is going to make your hill even steeper to climb. Situationships are dumb.
Okay, wait. I think it's also, this is only coming up for me because I think you're so passionate about it, which I love. But for some reason, I'm going dark. I don't know why. Weird headspace. But I'm thinking about, let's say, someone lost like a loved one or like super depressing place in their life or like just I get why people sometimes like and even they'll be like, yeah, it's a coping mechanism or it's like I do want to avoid everything coming up for me and like I just want someone I can be with like in that way. Or I don't know, Danny. I wouldn't always say that it's dumb. Do I think it's the healthiest way to cope with whatever person is going through? No. But I do think we're all just people. And I think sometimes you're in a low place or something really awful happens and you're like, "You know what? I've communicated that with this person. They're also struggling or maybe they're just like, I don't care." It's like, but we've agreed that
Hmm.
that's what this is. It's really helping me in some ways and it's really helping
Yes.
you. So you know what?
Yes.
Whatever. It exists while it exists. I'm cool with it.
Yes.
And that's where I think I get it. Just I think as a on a person level is like I get it. And if that's what you need on a Tuesday night and then you go home to your wife's ashes, I get it. But I'm sorry. I don't also I don't like have an exact example of this. I don't know why I like went that dark. But as you're going on a rant of how it's dumb, I'm literally like, what about the widow?
Yes.
And I don't know why.
Thank you for being the exact person I'm not talking about. Right? Listen to what you're saying, Ollivander. Is you're saying that these people can come together and so long as they communicate and are open about it, things can go well. I agree with you 100%. I'm not talking about those people. I do believe that there is beauty in that, right? I do believe
Well, when you just go off the rails of saying it's a dumb every 5 seconds,
because
I'm gonna think you always think it's
no,
dumb.
because situationships are dumb. Relationships
Be a situationship. That can still be a situationship.
relationships that are built around a common purpose, even if they are limited and short in life, can be beautiful.
Wait, but Danny, people can argue that that's any situationship.
They can, and they're still going to be unhealthy about it. They can
Yeah.
argue, but there's a difference between being disingenuous, manipulative, and building a relationship around lies.
So happy there's a part 2 to this.
They
I'm gonna
can
cry.
argue with it.
Yeah.
And what their relationship is built on is still something you can't hide from me. Because yes, I do agree with you 100%, right? Think about that person who was recently widowed and wants to have a physical relationship, wants to have an emotional relationship, but says, hey, you know what? I'm done with like commitment. I'm done with moving in. I'm done with the whole marriage thing. I've lived that phase of my life. Having an open and honest relationship, communication with someone and saying, hey, we have a great time together. We have good conversations. I feel safe enough having sex with you, right? Because we have this understanding. Let's do it. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that is beautiful. I think people can come together and walk through phases of life with each other and then leave, right? And have nothing but fond memories of that person. Those are wonderful and can happen. But even the examples that you're giving me, they have the exact like things I'm saying are absent in situationships. So those ones.
This is fair. This is fair. Okay, I'm glad we clarified that you don't think they're all dumb. Also, I think maybe you're just better than me because even if someone's doing it your way, I don't think it makes me that mad. Maybe it's my ego. I'm like, I just want to make sure that if you had previously told me about this, I will tell you how maybe I think this might go based on not like my own bias, but just based on like the pieces that you are giving me and how you're saying we came to decide this and all that stuff. And so as long as you come back in and you're like, oh my God, it's a shit show, as long as you know I didn't lead you there or I didn't tell you this was a good
Yeah.
idea, then I'm cool with it. I'm like, that's fine. Gives us something else to work on. Okay, let's talk about
Yeah.
it. So it's just funny to me, I think, how passionate you are about hating them.
I am passionate because again, like as a couples specialist, as someone who like works with trying to build healthy relationships, this is something that comes in often enough is that I have clients that I am in love with that I want to see thrive in this world and they end up in situationships and it's ends up being very stressful for them. They end up not knowing how to navigate. They don't know how to bring up conversations. And it's like, why? Not only is healthy communication already difficult, but because of the foundation of their relationship, they don't feel as if they can bring these things up. And it's like, that's what I'm talking about. A relationship is a relationship. Call it for what it is and acknowledge that it's not a healthy one. because at least then, right, if talking about healthy expectations, at least then we can figure out how to approach it in the best way possible.
No, that's fair. And I feel it's important to make an exclaimer for all of our fans listening. Danny obviously is not in love with his clients, but I am glad that you just let slip out that you do say things like you love your clients, and I do too. And so I'm glad we're both in the same boat
Yeah,
there.
thank you.
Because I don't like when people are like, no, how dare you have a relationship with them? And it's like, what do you think the therapeutic relationship is? Fake? I don't think so. That would be a job. This is my career, bitch. So that means I love them as people. I get to choose who I want to work with. And like, you build bonds with people. That doesn't mean I'm like hanging out with them on the weekends.
Yeah, definitely.
Unless I have a session scheduled. But it's like there's nothing wrong with like being like, yeah, my clients are dope. I love them.
Yeah, I genuinely do care about my clients. I really do want the best for them. I do have very positive feelings towards them. No, I'm not romantically in love, and I hope that you guys can see that there's a freaking difference, or else that is going to end up on the next episode.
Be fun. Our first email is just hate email, being like, how dare you? You just had a baby with a woman. How are you doing?
Yeah, they're reporting me to the BBS because I'm in love with my clients.
You're like, God damn it, Ollie, last week I got reported. Apparently I'm in love with someone. I don't know.
So situationships, as I'm defining them, are dumb.
Are dumb.
Number 3.
That was good. Wait. Question. So then for number 4, do we have a replacement?
Sure. For number 4, for me, when people are coming in struggling with situationships, what I tell them is a relationship is a relationship. That's my replacement, is understand that you are in a relationship. It doesn't have to be a good one. It doesn't have to be a healthy one. It doesn't have to be a committed one, but it is a relationship. And so what do we want out of this relationship? You are allowed to ask for that. You are allowed to stand up for that. If what you want is just sex, is just someone to talk to, is just someone to hang out with, to confide in, and you're not looking for your spouse or your future cohabitant, you don't have to be. But a relationship is a relationship, and you deserve to have positive relationships no matter how long they last. And situationships are often built off of this disingenuous, manipulative style of, being together. And I think if you do take a step back and kind of reflect on yourself, you might notice that I'm in a situationship because there is a fear I'm protecting, because I don't want the rejection, because I don't really know how to handle commitment right now, because I'm coming off of bad experience. And so it's weird because you're acknowledging the desire to connect with someone, but you're also kind of confining your what you can experience by putting up all these weird walls that don't keep the pain in, but really more so lock you in with it. It doesn't allow you to grow as easily or as genuinely because like it's built off of this like, hey, we're going to do these things, but we're also not going to be acknowledging these things at the same time. And so relationship is a relationship. What kind of relationship do you want? Own it.
Okay, love that. Number 3.
Number 3. Don't go to bed angry. This is a common piece of relationship advice that drives me out the freaking wall. Don't go to bed angry. I have a story for this one. The most recent time that I heard this one is, and also God bless this beautiful woman that told it to me, right? She's the best. I hope that she's doing well. But me and my wife were on our honeymoon, and we went to Costa Rica. We get to the hotel, they drop us off at the resort, and we put our stuff down, and then we just start walking. It was one of the best times ever, right? Super cute, like almost a little town within the resort. So there's little shops, there's little restaurants. It was very, very cute. We get there and we're walking around. We're walking past a restaurant, so we're kind of scoping where are we gonna go tomorrow? Like, where do we want to hit? So we're making our rounds, and there's these 2 ladies sitting at a restaurant outside. They see us. They're like, oh, hi. They introduce themselves, what they're doing. They're super social, and so her and I are just like, just listening. They look at us. They're like, you guys must be in love. You guys are here on your honeymoon, and we're like, yeah. That's so great. I can tell that you guys were just made for each other, right? Real kind of like woo-woo kind of spiritual people. I love them. And then at the end, they're like, let me just give you this piece of advice. never go to bed angry. And it's like, my wife looks at me and you can tell like she's holding her tongue because in her head, she's like, if you only knew what this guy did for a living, you don't know how much he is seething right now. And in my head, I'm just like, I'm ready to leave.
You're like, thank you for those wise
Yeah.
words.
Yeah. Person who was divorced twice. Yeah. So this is one of the worst pieces of advice for me. How many times do you get it? What are your thoughts on not going to bed angry?
This one I hear a lot. This one I hear a lot. Also, like this one, a lot from my grandmother, my own Hispanic grandmother. That's just like, you need to make a tea and talk about it at the table. My favorite color is blue. Yours is red. Let's talk about it. I'm like, that's not a problem that people are going to bed angry with. But no. I think this is just dumb. And sometimes this is dumb. I think some people, sometimes, sure, we can, and there are couples I work with, I will say, that I'm like, guys, we're not dying on this hill. I know you two way too well. This is not a real problem. We have been battling something ridiculously stressful for the last month. This is over something dumb. That's why this has happened. I'm like, no. After session, we're like, I'm going to make you guys do this. And then I want dinner together. We're not talking about this. If you want to bring it up at our next session, if it's still a problem, we'll do that then. But I do think there are times, I don't know if we've talked about this, Danny, and actually, I don't know if this has made your list. I haven't looked. But I really like thinking about things in terms of, will this matter in like, I think the stereotypical one is like in 5 days, 5 months,
Sure,
5 years. If you feel like something's gonna matter in 5 months or 5 years, I'd probably go to bed mad a few times. I'd be like, I'm sorry, you gambled our kids' college savings away? I'm not fucking going to bed, okay? It's like there are also times that I think if you just go to bed, quote unquote, happy and things aren't truly resolved, I just don't even want to know what a mess that turns into the next day. And it's like someone's still mad. And does the other person think we're not actually still mad? And so it's like a weird miscommunication. Or I think if you take that to heart and you're like, nope, I absolutely have to get over it by the time I go to bed, we have to start again tomorrow, then I think you fall into take it one day at a time territory. And I think it could potentially be letting a partner, not so much like off the hook, but it could be like, cool, whatever you do, whatever happens, however big an issue is, you're just going to know it's going to be like operant conditioning. You're going to know we go to bed, wake up, everything's fine now. And so where are you going to push that to? But yeah, no. So I find it interesting because, yeah, I think for some things, like, sure, you can work some things out before you go to bed. But I also think it's more about the communication that comes with being like, hey, like, I'm like really not okay. And maybe we're sleeping in different rooms that night. Or maybe we're okay with the fact that it's like, hey, I need to like stay out here and cool down for a little bit. And it's like, okay, like I think I'm going to head to bed. Like I'm just exhausted from all of this. Like, okay. I think there's a healthy way to go to bed.
Yes, this piece of advice is impractical, it's unrealistic, and I think it really pathologizes anger. It perpetuates the idea that anger is a bad emotion or holds little value. Like, it shouldn't be something that you let yourself experience. It's not something that can teach you anything. And that's really my stance against this. Like, anger is a healthy emotion. Anger communicates the need for validation. That's what it's trying to tell you, is that you're not being heard. And sometimes the person that needs to listen is you. And when you continue to argue past anger, what you're not listening to is the fact that your partner has likely run out of attention, has run out of energy, can't give you what you need. And so to continue to labor the conversation, to push past emotions of anger, it almost seems disrespectful to the self and disrespectful to your partner, disrespectful to the relationship. And even when people do finally come to a end of the conversation, I can't even say resolution, but to the end of the conversation, it rarely brings up positive results. Like you said, and this is something I wasn't thinking about, but I love that you said it. There can be this operant conditioning thing where it's like, we go to bed and then we wake up and everything should be a blank slate. We should be fine and just keep going that way. And it's like, no, that's not what we want. And then when you think about what does it take to end an angry conversation, it's usually someone just kind of throwing their hands up in the air and say, well, fuck it. You know, the plans that you come up with in anger might not be the best laid out plans, which means that when you start to put them into action, they don't work out. And so they reinforce that hurt when they inevitably break down. And it's all because we are not honoring anger. It's okay to go to bed angry.
Danny, I think this is beautiful. Also, that's like exactly zones of regulation. I know we've talked about this in another episode, but how like nothing good happens when we're in our red zone, which is anger. And if you picture a stoplight, we have to come back down to a green before we can have good conversation, have positive resolution with another person. And I just picture like Edna mode being like, you can't rush the process, darling. Or maybe that's the lady from the I don't know, from some other one with Gronk. But I picture them just being like, you can't rush this. But the zones of regulation, it's like you can't, if we get in an argument or I'm mad about something I found out, or my partner at like 8 o'clock at night, I can't force my nervous system to regulate by the time I want to go to bed. Like that's not how that works. And so like I don't think we need to not sleep all night because we're arguing or be like belittling each other, but I think there is a way to like let anger exist, but not as like the mean fiery anger guy, but just to be like, oh buddy, I'm sorry, yeah, okay, like let's give you some space and like let's just wait it out and we'll talk about it in the morning. Like I think there's a way to handle anger that isn't like shaming of him or her or they. But I think people grow up also to be very afraid of anger, like you said, Danny, or it's this emotion that like we shouldn't experience. And so I think the more that we actually like teach people to sit with it and to be like, okay, anger's around. Yeah. Why? What is that? What's going on? It's like, what are all the things I know we've talked to about all the things that are behind anger? But when anger is really big, we only see anger, but it's actually just covering up all these other emotions we have. And so I think that's really beautiful. That's such a pretty way to think of anger.
Yeah.
Poor little fella.
I like what you're saying about like this is an exercise in self-regulation. Going to bed angry is an exercise in self-regulation. I don't want to perpetuate the myth that this piece of advice does, saying that it almost makes soothing anger your partner's responsibility. We can't go to bed until you've listened to me. And it's like, again, maybe your partner can't. Maybe they're not the ones who should be. Right? Maybe the reason why you're angry is being projected onto your partner, and it's not actually something that they need to be dealing with or have to kind of soothe. And so, giving yourself time to kind of come down. What I think the reverse of this, like the healthy alternative to this one, should be that we should be scheduling times to have corrective conversations. What I think the silver lining, or what I think like the positive sentiment of this piece of advice is it's trying to avoid people from sweeping things under the rug. Is don't go to bed angry because I'm afraid if we don't finish this conversation now, we're not going to revisit this conversation later. So let yourself go to bed angry, calm down, but make sure that we are setting time to have shop talk. Make sure that we are setting time when we are feeling a lot better to have these more corrective conversations. Hold space for conflict resolution.
Every time you say corrective conversations, it just reminds me that my sister says every time you're hungover, you just need a corrective cocktail. And then you feel better.
Same thing. Yeah, same thing.
Same thing. Corrective one. Be careful with those. Slippery slope. But one of the things that comes up, Danny, when you say that is one of my favorite exercises to give couples when this stuff is, and not necessarily the going to bed angry, but I'll have people like throughout the week and they can either pick like 1 or 2 days that they want to check in with each other to have these conversations. But I even have them structure it where like anything your partner does, like if it's above like an 8 out of 10, you can address that in the moment. But if it's just like the toilet seat again, it's like just write it down on this list. And then when each of you meet up at like the designated time, you set a timer for like 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. And one person's the listener and one's like the talker. And so you're looking at your list and you're like, all right, it's my turn. And you're like, I have 32 things. And some of them might still feel relevant. You're just like, on Monday you did this. Yeah. And you're like, so irritating. But then you'll get to some that you're like, I don't actually know what that one meant. Moving on. I bet it made me angry though. And you just have a way to talk about it that it also kind of like creates more of like a fun atmosphere where there are going to be a few things that still really frustrate you that you're like, yeah, but like, no, number 7 was, I really didn't like number 7. And they can be like, no, that's fair, that's fair. And then you like reverse it and you let the other person go. But I think it's a fun way to make sure you're connecting about those things without, yeah, like the heaviness of like, we need to have these either A, you go forever without addressing them and they blow up, or yeah, you make anger feel so like uncomfy of a feeling that you need to bring it up with someone all the time, every time it happens. And so I really love that exercise. And I think couples tend to really enjoy it too.
Cool. Beautiful. Number 2.
Number 2.
Two on the list of the worst, best relationship advice is, if it's meant to be, it'll be.
That's a good one.
Freaking hate it.
Well, which is funny because you're the one who, I don't know if your family says this too. Basically, the English translation from Spanish is, what God has written in the sky, no one can erase. But will be used to essentially, does no one in your family say this?
I'm hearing about it.
It's hilarious. She says it in Spanish, but like it's this whole like whatever's written in the sky, like by God, no one can erase. But she'll use it to justify fucking anything. And you're like, no, like just because I married this person, I have no clue who they were, and now they have a gambling problem does not mean, no, I'm erasing that shit. Sorry. And so it's the same sentiment at times. It can be used like as the same sentiment. Like what
this and any cliche that tends to lean on fate for kind of deciding the outcome of certain things. Now I understand, like, what is the positive sentiment about this one is that we have to kind of have this level of acceptance that life doesn't always happen on your schedule. And we want to be ready to kind of accept things as they are, take things as they come. What bothers me about this piece of advice is that, kind of like situationships, it's often used to excuse poor behavior in the present. So I see this all the time when relationships are on the fritz. Two people just can't get on the same page about how to handle things. One person wants to do this, the other person wants to do that. One person, wants to party all the time, and the other person is ready to kind of settle down. And instead of kind of owning, this is where I am today, this isn't working out, they end their relationships with this weird, like, dumb kind of sugar-coated thing where it's like, if we're meant to be, we will be, and it's just, now's not our time. And it's like it makes for a really passive way to look at relationships, as if like there's nothing you can be doing or there's nothing you should be doing to either grow and be ready for a committed relationship, or own the fact that commitment might not just be your style. Bugs the shit out of me.
This one though, again, I do agree with the idea that like I do believe there are certain people that if they met at a different point in their life, or like if if circumstances, and not we're different as in like in a fantastical way that would never happen, but like 30-year-old me would have met 30-year-old you. Yeah. But when we tried to date in high school, like that wasn't going to work out. It's like, I get that. But yes, I think there's like this, like, how do you think you'll drift back to each other if neither of you do shit? Like, I'm confused.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Although I will say, I almost view it more so, rather than it frustrating me, I guess to me, it just feels like, okay, like, it's so painful for you to leave this, or if this is the only way you can, is by someone having this justification, then I kind of think like, you know what? Whatever gets you out the door, whatever helps this start. Because then maybe too, once you're off the hamster wheel, you'll see it for what it was, and you'll be like, oh my God, like, I can't believe that I thought like, that I wanted to marry that person, or that like I put up with that for that long. And so sometimes I think if that's just the justification you need to get your foot out the door, we'll take it. We will use whatever leverage we can get here. But yeah, in terms of like, yeah, like sure, technically you guys might come back together, but like that would be through active choice and through, or through changes. Even if you just like, what's the word? Like if
serendipitous?
By serendipitously, yeah, you like run into each other, like, because you live in the same area or something. If the two of you remain exactly the same people you are right now, we'd have the exact same problems. So like by default, you would have to be doing something to then make that work later on.
Yeah, like,
so
another thing that this piece of advice like tends to kind of mask is this idea that we should be perfect at whatever it is we're meant to do. So if we are meant to be in a relationship, how would we know? Is if things just feel natural, if things are just always great, that's how we know it's meant to be. And it's like, no, if something is meant to be, odds are you still have a lot of room to grow. right? I truly feel that I am meant to be a therapist. But because I feel that way, I work my ass off. Like, I know that I look back at myself, 10 years before I got into this industry, and it's like, yeah, the person who I was then has no business helping relationships today. Even though they had all the heart, their intentions were in the right place, they needed to grow, right? If you truly feel that it's meant to be, and this is my kind of alternative to this, if you do feel that it's meant to be, then you should be working at it. Work should not feel like a negative indication. It shouldn't be a marker of failure or a sign that you shouldn't be in something. That's just what it takes for us to be the best versions of ourselves. If it's meant to be, if you do feel that it's meant to be, don't take it for granted. That's my take on that one.
No, I completely agree. And I think, yeah, it's funny. I think people either use this phrase in complete delusion, or there are people that I know that genuinely believe, like, and also, I guess, me to a certain extent. I do believe, like, wow, it's weird. Like, if you put a certain energy out in the universe, it's like it repays you. And I don't know if it's like karmic or but there are certain people that it's like, I do think things, quote unquote, just like work out for them. It's because they're the kind of people that are like doing everything, like they're attracting all that shit. And it's like everything they do, how they breathe, how they operate in the world is like putting themselves around, educating themselves on like the person they want to be, or their goals. Or so it's like, I get why people like you and me, Danny, and I'd say the same thing. And this and teaching yoga are the two things in life that I'm like, I'm meant to do this. Like I do this well, and I love who I am doing it, and I'm meant to have this job. But yeah, it's like, it's not like then that means I just sit there and do nothing. It's like, because I feel like I'm meant to do it, it's like, maybe that's a part of why you and me are the kind of people that take it as, I don't mean like take it as seriously as we do, but why we approach it the way we do.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I like what you just brought up. That's another beautiful point, is that those people who are attracting so much good karma, or whatever word you want to put there, is I want those people to acknowledge the good that they are putting out to get those results.
Yes.
Own how amazing you are. And even if you do like have a kind of like a faith component, and you say, well, it's not me, it's whatever Lord I pray to, I would still want there to be that acknowledgement that someone, something, some whatever is pushing you, is helping you go in a certain direction, and not just have it be this kind of passive, like, well, when it happens, it's meant to happen. I want us to be ready for it to happen.
Yes. Yeah, I love that one. Wait. So what replaces this one?
If it's meant to be, then don't take it for granted. If it is meant to be, then treat it with respect. Then treat it as something that is meant to be. And see, I think, like, if I could push that a little further, is like, I truly believe that my relationship, that my marriage is beautiful, and I am the happiest person in the world. If I want to say that this is meant to be, then I'm not going to be putting it in situations where it is constantly at risk.
Or you're not just going to stop trying as a husband because you're like, well, it's meant to be.
Like,
and it's like, yeah. And if she didn't feel that way,
like, I don't think that it's right, because this is another context in which I hear that piece of advice a lot. Like, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. It's often spewed out when the thing is being challenged. And so you see this a lot, like when you're watching like reality dating shows, and it's like, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. It's like, but you are testing it under the worst circumstances possible. You're out here like flirting and going on dates with all these other people. Like, what are you talking about?
You've slept with 4 people while you're talking with her. I think you are showing that you don't want it to be.
Yes. Like, it releases the responsibility to actually engage with the thing. If you do believe that it's meant to be, respect it. Treat it as something that is worth being.
Yes.
So, number 1, let's finish this off, because I need to calm down before my next session.
Number one
is the worst, best relationship advice for today is true love is unconditional.
Oh, this one's awesome. Yeah, this one sucks. It better be conditional, bitch. I'm a prize.
What do you think when people mean, what is like the positive sentiment behind this one?
It's also similar to the one of the other ones we mentioned, where it's like, maybe it was the take it one day at a time. We're like, yeah, like shit's gonna get hard. Like, marriage is not easy. But that does not mean, like, just because, yes, you're not going to feel how you did on your wedding day does not mean you don't love someone. Like I think that I'm hoping that's the sentiment behind those kinds of
Okay, I like that.
comments but other times people do become just entirely, I literally had a friend that her stepdad they were together for so long. He was amazing. I went on family vacations with them, and then he became a Jehovah's Witness. And nothing against Jehovah's Witnesses, but it was not the lifestyle that her or her mom were down to join. And so it's like, that's not, you can always have love for that person or the person that they were with you. But like, if they become a totally different person, or if they start treating you in a way that's just not okay, or it's, again, same thing as the take it one day at a time kind of stuff we talked about. Like, no, that shit shouldn't be unconditional. And honestly, I'll take this one. I'm fired up about. I'll take it a step further. I think that relates to family too.
Yeah.
Sure. Like, I hate the comment, because this is related. I hate the comment like, well, but they're your mother, or like, oh, but that's your father, and you'll love him and it's like, girl, would you like to be me when I was a kid? Let's see how you would have liked that. Let's see if you would have been like, oh, well, that's your mother. Let's talk. Like, I just think those kinds of comments, like, but they're family, is like, family tries to kill family. Have you seen TV? Like, do you understand what people can do? So I don't think love should ever be unconditional. Keep people on their toes. Like, let them know, like, you do me dirty, you're gone. I can't. I'm not living like that. So I think that's another one where people can use it as an excuse to be like, well, you have to love them. And it's like, I don't think so. I definitely don't have to.
Yeah, 100%. The positive sentiment, I believe, behind this piece of advice or this saying is that what you were saying is that love isn't always going to feel good. That loving is not always going to be a positive experience. That people aren't always going to be perfect, and they're still going to be worthy of love. Like, you're going to have rough days, bad days, hard days, and people should still feel loved during those days. Love shouldn't be something that is earned. Love shouldn't be something that is kind of like, it's not a reward, right? It's a requirement to a healthy relationship. And so I think that's the positive sentiment, but I think love is overly romanticized, and how we understand unconditional love is pretty harmful, in my opinion, because of a lot of the reasons that you just brought up. There are so many conditions to my love, right? So many. Don't cheat on me. Don't abuse me. Don't lie. Right? I have so many conditions, and like, your poor behavior and then me resulting in my own self-preservation has nothing to do with how true my love is. Just because I decide that you can't have it doesn't mean that it wasn't true to begin with. It's because it is worth having that you don't deserve it. And that shouldn't be something that we get guilted for. And that, I think, to your point, is that is what happens way too much. To kind of give love unconditionally, I think, is a disrespect to yourself. Thinking about like all the relationships, whether they're familial or romantic, when you're guilted into doing things for people that aren't reciprocating the love or the respect back, like blood is thicker than water, they're your family, like all those things. It's like it deludes us into believing that in order to be loving, that we have to love through harmful and unhealthy situations. And I don't think that that's something that, as a couples therapist, I want to be perpetuating.
Yeah, no, the fact that anyone still believes that's wild to me. Therapist or not, I'm like, that's unconditional. And I think, like you said, Danny, this is very different. And again, maybe I'm hoping that the sentiment behind it is like, yeah, you'll have a hard day. Like, you're going to have days where your spouse pisses you off, or your partner's like, oh, like, today was trying. And you're like, but I still love you. Like, I didn't need to have a great day with you to love you. Like, that's fair, I think. And obviously, given, the context. But it's when I think, yeah, you just are blindly like, unconditional, I will always love you. To me, those are like huge red flags. I wouldn't even want, I don't know, I'm trying to think. I feel like I've like even went on dates or dated people in the past that like made me feel that way, and I just viewed it as like a red flag.
Clingy.
I was like, bitch, I could get real fight. I could get crazy, and you're telling me that you'll stay? I don't trust you. I don't know if that's meant to be a turn on to people, but I'm like, that seems sketchy. Like you said, Danny, so many conditions to my love.
Yeah, so many. And so what I think people are trying to say, or if I had to get like an alternative understanding of this, is I think that people should love. I think that people's love should come from a foundational pillar of who you are. So your love should be true because you are a loving person, not because you expect to get something out of the relationship. Does that make sense? And so I think true love really does accept who we are because it knows who you should be and who you can be. I think real, true love always corrects and moves people towards health. I don't think that you can accept real love without changing to someone who is more worthy of it or as close to worthy of it as we can be, knowing that we're all flawed, no one is perfect, right? And so I think that this statement should be, or this piece of advice, like the alternative should be more reflective. It should be more self-reflective than it is kind of directed at the person you are loving, if that makes sense. When I hear this statement that true love is unconditional, what I hear is that I should be loving someone. The way that I want people to kind of hear this is when true love is unconditional, I want that to be self-reflective and for you to think, am I acting in a way that is loving? Can I act in a way that is loving? And if I am, that deserves respect and protection. Does that make sense?
I was literally gonna say earlier, Danny, it almost feels like if you operated from this, like, I need to unconditionally love you, I feel like that also means I place that over unconditionally loving myself.
Ooh.
And so that's, I think, exactly what you just spoke to, where I think we can all act in ways that are like, maybe you don't love yourself in every moment by, based on certain actions we have and stuff. But I think if you could try and live a life where you unconditionally love yourself, or you're the type of person that you're unconditionally focusing on loving, you will by default be letting people into your life who deserve your love.
Yeah. So love yourself for who you are because you know who you can be. And take that love to become that person. When you feel that you are that person, if you are someone who does love, then you should be someone who respects and protects that love. That's my take on that one.
Okay, Danny, to recap, these 5, I've been writing all of these down. We can say that out of these 5, even though this is the best we're stating advice, we can replace them with expectations are healthy. A relationship is a relationship. What kind of relationship do you want? Own it. Number 3, schedule times to have corrective conversations, not just corrective cocktails. Number 4, if it's meant to be, treat it as such. And number 5, love yourself unconditionally.
Yeah, there we go. We got it.
I don't know, that one we didn't quite fine tune. Yours was really long. I started writing it and then I wandered off. But I do think we both care about loving ourselves unconditionally and like have conditions to how you will love others.
Yes, I love that. Cool. Beautiful. This was fun. All right, I got to go do some yoga and deep breathing before the next one. All right.
Sounds good, Danny. I'll see you
All right,
next
bye-bye.
time. Bye.